The term Champa refers to a collection of independent Cham polities that extended across the coast of what is today central and southern Vietnam, from about the 2nd century through the 19th century, before being absorbed and annexed into the Vietnamese state. The kingdom is known variously as Nagara Champa in Chamic and Cambodian inscriptions, Champa in Vietnamese, and Janchang in Chinese records. The Chams of modern Vietnam and Cambodia are the remnants of this former kingdom. They speak Chamic languages, a subfamily of Malayo-Polynesian, closely related to Malaic and Bali-Sassic languages. Champa was preceded in the region by a kingdom called Lin Yi that was in existence from AD 192. The historical relationship between Lin Yi and Champa is not clear. Champa reached its apogee in the 9th and 10th centuries. Thereafter, it began a gradual decline until pressure from Dai Viet, the Vietnamese polity centered in the region of modern Hanoi. In 1832, the Vietnamese Emperor Minh Mang annexed the remaining Cham territories. Hinduism, adopted from India since early in its history, helped shape the art and culture of the Champa kingdom for centuries, as testified to by the many exquisite Cham Hindu statues and red brick temples that dot the landscape in Cham lands. Mai San, a former religious leader, and Hoi An, one of the Champa's main port cities, are now World Heritage Sites. Today, some Cham people adhere to Buddhism, a conversion that was started in the 15th century. They are called Bana Cham. There are, however, Chams who still retain and preserve their Hindu faith, rituals, and festivals. The Balaman Cham are one of only 2 surviving non-Indic indigenous Hindu peoples in the world, with a culture dating back thousands of years. The other is the Hindu Balinese of Indonesia. Between the 2nd and 15th centuries, Champa at times included the modern provinces in the middle part of modern-day Vietnam. Though Cham territory included the mountainous zones west of the coastal plain and at times extended into present-day Laos, for the most part the Cham remained a seafaring people dedicated to trade and maintaining few settlements of any size away from the coast. Historical Champa consisted of 5 principalities. Indrapura was the capital of Champa from 875 to 1000. It was located at the site of the modern village of Dong Duong, near the modern city of Da Nang. Also in the region of Da Nang is the ancient Cham city of Singhapura, or City of the Lion, the location of which has been identified with an archaeological site in the modern village of Tra Kieu and the valley of Mai Son. There are a number of ruined temples and towers that can still be viewed. The associated port was at modern Hoi An. The second principality is Amavarti. It was located in present-day Quang Nam province. The earliest mention of Amavarti is from the 1160 inscription at Po Nagar. The third principality is Vijaya. It was located in present-day Binh Dinh province. Early mention is made of Vijaya in an 1160 inscription at Po Nagar. The capital has been identified with the archaeological site of Chaban. The associated port was at present-day Quai Ban. Important excavations have been made at nearby Top Mam, which may have been a religious and cultural center. Vijaya became the political and cultural center of Champa around 1000, when the northern capital of Indrapura was abandoned due to pressure from the Viet. It remained the center of Champa until 1471, when it was sacked by the Viet and the center of Champa was again displaced toward the south. In its time, the Principality of Vijaya controlled much of modern day. The fourth principality is Kathara. It was located in an area of modern-day Nha Trang. Its religious and cultural center was the Temple of Po Nagar, several temples of which still stand at Nha Trang. Kathara is first mentioned in AD 784 inscription at Po Nagara. The fifth principality is Panduranga. It was located in the area of present-day Phan Rang. Panduranga was the last of the Cham territories to be annexed by the Vietnamese. Panduranga is first mentioned in an 817 inscription at Po Nagara. Within these principalities were 2 main clans, the Dua and the Ka. The Dua lived in Amavarti and Vijaya, while the Ka lived in Kathra and Panduranga. The 2 clans differed in their customs and habits, and conflicting interests led to many clashes and even war, but they usually managed to settle disagreements through intermarriage. Through the centuries, Cham culture and society were influenced by forces emanating from Cambodia, China, Java, and India, among others. Lin Yi, predecessor state in the region, began its existence in AD 192 as a breakaway Chinese colony. An official successfully revolted against Chinese rule in Vietnam, and Lin Yi was founded in 192. In the 4th century, wars with the neighboring kingdom of Funan in Cambodia and the acquisition of Fulanese territory led to the infusion of Indian culture into Cham society. Sanskrit was adopted as the scholarly language, and Hinduism, especially Shaivism, became the state religion. From the 10th century onwards, Arab maritime trade in the region brought increasing Islamic culture and religious influences. Champa came to serve as an important link in the spice trade, which stretched from the Persian Gulf to South China, and later in the Arab maritime routes in mainland Southeast Asia as a supplier of aloe. Despite the frequent wars between Champa and Cambodia, the two countries also traded, and cultural influences moved in both directions. Royal families of the two countries intermarried frequently. Champa also had close trade and cultural relations with the powerful maritime empire of Srivijaya, and later with others in the Malay archipelago. Evidence has been gathered from linguistic studies, confirming a very strong Champan cultural influence existed in Indonesia. This is indicated by the use of a Champan language along the coastal regions in parts of Indonesia. Chams participated in defeating the Spanish invasion of Cambodia. Hinduism and Buddhism. While today the Balamamchan are the only surviving Hindus in Vietnam, the region once hosted some of the most exquisite and vibrant Hindu cultures of the world. The entire region of Southeast Asia, in fact, was home to numerous sophisticated Hindu kingdoms, from Angkor and neighboring Cambodia to Java and Bali in Indonesia. Before the conquest of Champa by the Diet Viet Emperor Trantantang in 1471, the dominant religion of the Cham people was Hinduism, and the culture was heavily influenced by India. The Hinduism of Champa was overwhelmingly Shaiva, and it was liberally combined with elements of local religious cults, such as the worship of the earth goddess. The predominance of Hinduism in Cham religion was interrupted for a time in the 9th and 10th centuries when a dynasty at Indapura adopted Mahayana Buddhism as its faith. Beginning in the 10th century, Hinduism again became the predominant language of Champa. Buddhism started making more headway among the Cham people after the 10th century. By the 17th century, the royal families of Cham had converted to Buddhism. Most Cham are now evenly split between being Buddhist and Hindu, with the majority of Vietnamese Cham being Hindu, while the majority of Cambodian Cham being Muslim, though significant minorities of Mahayana Buddhists continue to exist. In contrast to Diet Viet, Champa's economy was not based on agriculture. A seafaring people, the Cham were highly mobile and established a network of trade, including numerous major ports, but they also extended into the mountainous hinterland. Maritime trade was facilitated by a network of wells that provided fresh water to Cham and foreign ships along the coast of Champa and the islands of Kulo Cham and Lai San. While Kenneth R. Hall suggests that Champa was not able to rely on taxes on trade for continuous revenue, it appears that during this time their prosperity is based on commerce. The vast majority of Champa's export products came from the mountainous hinterland, sourced from as far as Atapu in southern Laos. They included gold, silver, slaves, animals and animal products, and precious woods. By far the most important export product was eaglewood. It was the only product mentioned in Marco Polo's brief account, and similarly impressed the Arab trader Suleiman several centuries earlier. Most of this wood was probably taken from what is now modern-day Vietnam.